I don't want to live the same day. I don't want to live the same day over and over again and call that a life.
Ooh,
I know.
that's beautiful.
It
Yeah,
is
I think
beautiful.
it it's freaky, like society is a strange thing, in my opinion. It's this really weird construct that everyone kind of has to be the same and fit in the same shoes and live the same life. You know what I mean? And I've kind of, after travel and taking a step back, and even before I moved out here, I shifted down to the south of England, and I kind of like took a step back and evaluated everything and saw it for what it was, right? And I'm just like, whoa, everyone is doing the same thing, but is miserable as shit. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to live the same day over and over again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about collecting those lessons and finding your purpose. Like, I did go home for Thanksgiving this past week, home back to my small hometown in Illinois. And even in the week and a half that I was there, I felt like I was getting caught in that cycle again of every
Mm.
day is the same. You wake up, you eat breakfast, you work, you eat lunch, you work, you eat dinner, you watch TV, you go to bed. And it's just that same thing on a loop. And it's so easy to get caught up in that. But at the end of the day, or even at the end of your life, when you look back on it, there has to be more meaning there than just living that cycle. Like there's has to be lessons and beauty and discoveries and things that you contribute to the world. Um, so I feel like you've got to break away and
Mm.
move and kind of find that rhythm.
It's hard to do that too, right? Because there's a lot of people that you grow up around, or are your family, or both, that like doing the same thing over and over again, that like knowing what's coming up in 3 years' time. And you don't want to say they're living the wrong way, because that there is no wrong way to live. It's hard to leave them behind in a way. I've been like, that's not right for me. That might be right for you, and that's amazing, but I need to move on, and that change and that letting go and seeing the paths kind of run parallel to it for a while and then kind of meander off in separate directions. That's really, really hard.
Yeah, it is. But I think what helps is I tell myself that maybe their life purpose or part of their life purpose is finding that comfort in the routine. Like maybe that is them living their own purpose, and my purpose is just a little bit different, and it doesn't mean that they can't be treasured parts of my life, like those family members, those friends, but it's just I'm going to have a little bit of a different path. But it
Mm,
does feel like you kind of go in different directions.
mm. How did you get started on this path of growth, this journey of growth? Do you think it's always been in you, or?
I think I've always been an incredibly introspective person and an incredibly deliberate person. Um, Deliberate with my actions, deliberate with the way I spend my time every day. I've always been kind of that person, but when I did move out of my hometown and kind of moved to Colorado, that is what really changed for me because I came here, I had no family out here, no friends, I didn't know anybody. When I arrived, I didn't have a job. Um,
Oh
so
yes.
it was yes, a completely fresh start. I could be anything that I wanted. I could be anyone that I wanted.
Mm,
Um, and I felt like with that completely clean slate, I was able to create this very intentional life for myself. And I just wanted that spiritual growth to be a part of my
mm.
life too. So,
Yeah, like that
uh,
kind of clean slate of jumping straight in and being like, I'm gonna figure out who I am, what I am, and where I'm going. I think it's so powerful. It's so scary, right, at the start, because you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna eat. I don't know where I'm gonna live. I don't know what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna pay bills. Like yeah, it's scary. Like we've both been there. However, on the flip side, you learn so much about yourself and you pull yourself out of this like weird like haze, right? And then you end up seeing the world in a completely different light. And that's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. Do you feel like you reinvented yourself when you moved to New Zealand?
Oh man, like I kind of believe that we're different people every day, right? Not like multiple personality disorder or anything like that. Completely different people. I mean, we just kind of grow and develop and evolve day to day, and throughout the day. But yes, I do. I spend a hell of a lot of time on my own, which I'm very introverted as it is anyway, so that doesn't necessarily phase me. But what it's kind of forced me to do was it took me out of the rat race, right? And back home, it's very urban, it's very working class, poor, and it's difficult to see the wood for the trees. And it kind of pulled me out of that and made me fix a lot of problems that I needed to. Well, give me 2 seconds. Someone's at the door.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm back. People coming on my door, fixing the roof. Yeah, it's it forced me into that. It forced me into growth, I reckon. It put me in a very uncomfortable, vulnerable position. And the only thing that's going to happen out of that is change. And
Totally.
taught me to be okay with that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think I have reinvented myself, I reckon.
Nice. Yeah, I think any change is scary because as human beings, we love what's expected. We love consistency. It's scary for us because everything kind of in our brain is wired to think change is threatening.
Mhm.
But the only way that we grow is through change. Like there's a quote that it says, everything that you want is outside of your comfort zone. Everything that you want. So you have to go through things that are really uncomfortable and really scary in order to get all the things that you want. And all the things that you want, I see that as your dreams, the goals that you have, those lofty, amazing, beautiful things that you want to accomplish in life. It's terrifying, but you just have to be scared and like do it anyway. You're like, okay, I am terrified right now, but it's not going to stop me. I'm still going to do it.
There's a lot of strength in vulnerability though, right? Like people kind of veer away from it and be like, no, I can't feel that. Like, I can't feel that fear. You're like, no, like if you go through that, like, oh, that's going to be a powerful place.
Right. Like if I go to an event or if I go to like a Zoom poetry open mic, I try to read the poem that scares me the most. The one where I'm flipping through the book and I'm like, oh, I can't read that. Like that's the one that I have to read. Because that's the one that is the rawest, the realest. That is the one that people are going to connect to. In my past reading, I zoomed in to a poetry event in California, and I read a poem from my book that I have never been able to read it without crying. Never. Because it's so intense and it's so personal and it's, oh man, it's a sad poem with an uplift of hope at the end. But I was terrified to read that because I'm like, I'm going to sit on this Zoom meeting and cry in front of all these strangers. But I read it and I didn't end up crying. But when I looked up from the poem, when I was done reading it, the host of the night was crying. And I'm just like, okay, that must have really resonated. And it must have been a beautiful moment, I hope, for the people that were attending the event. But it was a scary poem, man. It was a very vulnerable poem, but I think it was probably the most effective one I could have read.
You want to read it?
Oh gosh, sure. Sure.
Sorry, I've like completely put you on the spot here now, but you're talking
Yeah.
about it and I need to hear it.
Okay. I actually have, okay, I have it here. So this poem is from my poetry book. I published my very first poetry chapbook last spring, which was a really fun experience. And this is one of my favorite poems from it. It's titled "At the Top of Bluebell Trail, Underneath a Douglas Fir." In the wind, in the rocks, with the bones of fine dust, I'm burying you 8 years too late. It took that long to leave the sticky town we grew up in, as if the tangled roots of it wouldn't give us up. Its breath crackled and its buildings shook with the weight of your grief, then the weight of my grief. After they found you in the garage with a rope, finally lighter than air. No school assembly was held for you. No signs or ribbons coated the town. There is only me, only you, and our one set of footsteps on a sandstone path. Deciding that if you didn't feel the freedom of the sharp scent of pine and a borderless map in this life, then maybe freedom and death is the next best thing. Fragments of earth cover my hair and cheeks like soot as I scoop you out from the core with my hands cupped like spades. All I can do is give you a new home. I can carry the weight of both of us, your ashes and my apologetic body, to the misted top of mountains you'll never get to see. So let your second life, your softer life, be not somewhere else, but here. Then here, a bluebird sings.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
Thank you.
I know, it's a punch in the gut. It's a punch in the gut. Oh man.
That
Ugh.
made my heart drop.
That's what good poems do. They're
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
oh, rip your heart
that's
out, man.
that's
But
incredible. Thank you.
thanks. It's a, yeah, it's a personal poem, and it was, um, yeah, I wrote it when I moved to Boulder, actually, for law school, because in Boulder, Colorado is just this beautiful, idyllic town nestled right by the mountains. Very progressive, very friendly, very accepting. And there was this person in my life previously that unfortunately in high school took their own life. And I felt like if they had only had the chance to go to Boulder, like everything would be different because they would be accepted and hopefully happy. And like, I don't know, it just kind of like broke my heart that he passed away without even knowing that this place existed.
Mm.
So that's what the poem was kind of written about. And so it's a very intense, very, very personal poem. But I think the vulnerability of it, the rawness of it is what makes it powerful. Just like all writing, you know, the more vulnerable, the more powerful. So
Yeah, and now, you know, people empathize with that, and now they will always have a connection with yourself. You know, they can pick that up and read it, and they don't even know who you are, never seen your face, don't even know the name of the author, right? But can have a connection, and I think that it's such a powerful thing. And you know, secondly, I think this fella, the way I see it, is now immortal because he's now etched in words. You know what I mean? And it's on a piece of paper, and then lives within everybody who hears it, reads it, feels it, like is immortal. Like he will forever be alive somehow. You know, like we going back to the whole spirituality thing is we confine ourselves to these shells, right? It's like, oh, if I die, I'm dead. I was like, well, yeah, like this organic tissue thing that we're living in will die, yeah, and eventually it will just kind of like recycle and go back in the earth, and then it will come back again in whatever form. But do we really think that's it? You know, no, I don't think that. So I think that's a really, really beautiful thing. And thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And another thing with writing is um, it is something permanent that does stay on the earth once you're gone too.
Mm,
So it's like you can create this work of art that lets people know that they're not alone.
mm.
And that will live forever. Um, like after I'm dead and gone, hopefully copies of this book will be floating around still somewhere, and it can help people, can make people feel heard and valued, and kind of validate them and make them feel not alone, and help them process grief, help them process their emotions. And it's like a gift to the world that lasts way longer than your skin and bones do, you know.
What what made you embark on this journey of writing and poetry and making a book?
Oh gosh, this journey has been like my whole life. When I was a little girl, like literally I was writing, and they were horrible little poems, but I was writing. I have like literally I have notebooks back at my parents' house from like 8 years old, 9 years old, just writing poetry, like writing angsty little poems, love poems, all that stuff. So I've always wanted to be a writer. When I was little, my dream, like instead of being a ballerina or being an astronaut, my dream was to move to Vermont or move to Maine and be a writer and live in a house there. I don't know why. I've never been to either of those states, but that's what I wanted to do. So I've always, always, always felt that just need to write. And then in college, I really started writing for literary magazines and journals and embarking on that. And that's a whole process where you submit your writing, and you submit a lot of places because the acceptance rate is very low.
Mm.
And eventually you're going to get placed into a magazine or journal. And so I have a kind of a bookshelf that's full of all these books that I've written in
Wow.
across the country, even one in England.
Wow.
Um, so I felt like it was time to have a book that was just my own book. And I decided to self-publish my own little chapbook. So it was just the culmination of a lifelong dream for me.
Wow.
Definitely a lot of hard work, but worth it.
That's
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like putting yourself out there and showing a couple of scars, you know what I mean? Like that's incredible.
Yeah. It's scary. Talk about, change being scary. Publishing a book is terrifying. Because
Yeah.
you're like, is anybody going to read it? Is anybody going to care? Or will my mother have the only copy in the world, and I will have one sale and it will be to my mother? Like, it's so hard. Or are people going to read it and they're going to hate it? Am I going to be on Goodreads with 1 star and everyone's going to be like, waste of money? It's just so scary. You just don't know at all how it's going to be received, how it's going to sell, anything. You just kind of have a hope and a prayer, and you put it out there. So it was very scary, but definitely worth it. And I feel very lucky that it was well received, and it's doing pretty okay for a self-published book. And I feel like it's fulfilling its purpose. It's getting out there, and helping people kind of process their emotions and ultimately be able to let go of some of the hard stuff, let go of some of the grief, let go of some of the pain that inevitably comes with living this life. So,
Wow. Well, I'm blown away by that story. And yeah, I mean, self-publishing the book is difficult. Like, it's something that I had no idea about. And yeah, just had to figure it out on the fly, I guess.
yeah, like every step of the process is an unknown.
Mm.
And so you're like, well, I guess I'm going to Google how to do everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had that experience too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess I can figure it out. It's just trial and error
Yeah.
through every step of the way.
And even like formatting it correctly and learning how to use like, Word document and Google Docs like correctly. I'm like, what is this? Like, can I just not do a pen and paper and then like send it in via the post and they just send me back the book? I'm like literally like a 90-year-old in a fucking 20-year-old's body. It's crazy, but I was like, I don't know how
It
to
was
do
so
this.
hard.
Yeah.
Yes. I had issues with my font.
Ah.
So whatever font I would use when I would send it to the printer and it would give me a sample back, for some reason the R's, the only half of the R would ever show up. Like the spine of the R was invisible. So it was just an arc. And I'm like, what is going on? I could not figure it out. So in my book, literally every R that you see is in this different weird font. And I had to go through and cut and like make every single R a different font than the rest of the book. So the R would show up. Like just little things like that. I'm like, who would have guessed? Very
Yeah, and then
difficult.
some fonts are compatible to like the KDP, and then some of them aren't compatible to something else. And I don't have the font on the computer, and you're like, oh my god, what's going on? I don't really know what a font is. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of long nights and a lot of caffeine.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Lots of, for me, it was a lot of patience breaks where could tell I was losing my patience.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I need an hour. I just need an hour and I'll come back and try again.
Patience break.
I'm no good when I'm not frustrated. Like,
That's brilliant. Yeah, there's a lot of times I had to get up and like walk down the street. I'm like, I need to go like walk the block. I need to cool off. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like walking around the street, just like, don't talk to me. It's a crazy guy walking around.
That's the writing life.
Yeah, yeah.
Late night walks to cool off.
It's not glamorous. No,
it's not.
Although, you said about going up to Maine, right? And I literally just pictured like a cabin in the woods, complete solitude, and just like kind of drifting off. And I'm like, oh, it sounds like paradise.
Yeah, it does. Because you said you're an introvert, right? 100%. I am too. Yeah. I feel like most writers are. We could just get lost in our own little cabin, in our own little world, writing, and then emerge 1 year later. Be like, hi, everybody, I'm ready to be social.
Hey, yeah, I've got like 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes on my social battery.
Yeah. And then that's it, disappear. Yeah, it's funny. Like you say, like you've always known you were a writer. Like I'm the 100% the opposite. Like I had no clue. And also couldn't write at all. Like I needed like extra English in school because I couldn't spell and didn't know what grammar was and still don't know what a verb is. And you know what I mean? Like the worst student possible. And just kind of was that stereotypical fitness guy that would train just to work out a lot of things in his head and try and look after me mom and all that type of stuff. And it's weird. I kind of like fell into it. So there's some things that I can't necessarily relate to you when you're like, it's been like all your life. I'm like, oh, I have no idea. I don't know
how did you fall into it then? If that wasn't something that you've always wanted, how did you find this path, this writing path then?
Like, honestly, it's weird, crazy. Like, I don't know, like looking back, I can think of can understand that I thought in a way, you know what I mean? And kind of getting to know like the family heritage a little bit more, and I've been concussed more times than I can count. I'm like, okay, cool. So I've got some limitations up there that goes towards this way, but also when it goes that way, I start thinking and seeing the world differently. And then as developing the skill of writing, right, I'm able to create whatever. But there was one time I was about 17, no, about 18, I think. I seriously injured my low back, and I couldn't walk for 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, what do I do? My coping mechanism is training. Like, and now I can no longer go to the toilet on my own. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea what to do. And it was my mum at the time, and she just turned around and was like, you need to write something down. And as you do, you kind of just like write. It wasn't even sentences, and I chucked it. And then I don't know, it just naturally just turned into like rhyming couplets. And then I would try and decipher some feelings and write it down, and then I would just chuck them and burn them. And a few months went by, and I spoke to my brother, and he was like, dude, like, you need to keep these, like they're pretty good. I was like, no, it's bullshit. And again, burnt them, chucked them away or whatever. And he basically stopped me one day and was like, listen, like, even if you chuck them in like 10 years time, you need to keep these. I was like, okay, fine. And yeah, it took me like 6 years. 6 years later, I ended up making a book. I don't know, it's how I processed a lot of things. I think about 5 people, maybe less than, knew I was writing like a month before I published. Like no one had an idea. It's just how I'd process some things outside of the gym. And then the next thing you know, yeah, okay, I'll put a cover on it, and I'll send it on its way.
Beautiful. It sounds like writing was a form of therapy for you, helping
100%.
you get in touch with your emotions and letting them go.
100%. Like, I think physical stuff, like training for me, is a form of therapy. Always has been, always knew it was. Even from a younger age, right? I wasn't like, I'm not really training for anything. I'm training so I stay kind of sane. And writing has definitely developed into that too. So I am a big advocate of, you need something physical and you need something non-physical. There's times where you just need to like burn the house down and go for a run, do yoga, Pilates, train, whatever it is, right? And then there's also times where you need to sit in that uncomfortable emotional state, and you need to process it. And that's usually when I put pen to paper.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I feel like we do need both. Something physical to kind of transmute that energy, and then something kind of cerebral, like writing, that where you're able to process it. Like, I've been a dancer my whole life too. So I did jazz, tap, ballet, hip hop growing up. And then I was a college athlete. I danced in college. And then I danced after college, but I just, from having a whole life of dancing, I'm sure it's similar with training for you. Like, it's really hard on your joints. You just wear the cartilage down. And so it was to a point where I couldn't dance at the level that I wanted to anymore, but I had to have that outlet. So then I took up pole dancing because you don't have gravity. Well, you don't have gravity on your knees and your hips in the same way. But I just needed that. Like, I desperately needed that dance outlet in order to process that. And even some days now I can feel like stress building up, and I'm like, oh, I just need to have a dance session, then I'll feel so much better. Get it out.
So. Yeah, 100%. Like, I've worked in gyms for the past like 11 years, and I've literally spoken to people. I've been like, look, okay, I'm so proud of you for coming in here and fighting whatever's in your head that tells you to not come here, and now you're getting it out, and this is the time to do that. And then at the end of that, we're like, cool, now what do we need to go do? Okay, now you've got the physical stuff, now you need to go do something, whether it's meditation, writing, speaking. Some people it's like playing video games. Some people it's watching TV. You know, whatever the hell it is, it doesn't matter. You've done the physical stuff now. Good. High five. Now go do the work that you need to do. And same vice versa, right? Okay, you've locked yourself away for 2 weeks. Stop being a hermit. All right, go for a jog. Go like move around, like get out of the house. You know, if you stare long enough into the abyss, it starts staring back at you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I think that's probably the motto of my life.
Probably mine too.
Yeah.
I connect with that so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, honestly, I think because it works for me, right, is I'll go on these like nomadic trips where I'll just kind of drop off the grid. I'll delete everything from my phone. Usually my phone is switched off as well. No one knows where I am. I don't know where I am. No one knows my name or my face. And I'll just like figure it out on the fly. I'll go that way until I can no longer go that way. And then I'll go that way, you know? And
Okay.
I kind of just drift around, and then it will kind of come to you that you're done. You've reached the end of your journey, and then you'll toddle on back on towards home. But I think it's really important to go on these like nomadic trips because you put yourself in these spaces, right, which is really vulnerable and uncomfortable, and you know you're lonely and fighting a lot of things that you didn't really want to dig up, and shaking hands with a couple of devils, and you're like, this is awful. Then you feel so much lighter after you finished it, right? And I got one coming up. 100% got one coming up. I'm going to do one over Christmas.
Okay.
Like Christmas over here is personally pretty rough, but also quite weird because it's the southern hemisphere, because it's hot, you know, and I'm like, Christmas is supposed to be cold. So I'm just going to like, you know, go for one, try and figure out the next steps with some things. But the last one I went on, literally, you'll snap out of it like that. Like I woke up Friday morning, ironically, it was Valentine's Day. I woke up in my car and I literally just sat up and I was like, I'm good. That's it. I'm good.
You've dealt with what you needed to deal with. You've fought your demons. Now you're ready to move forward.
Yep, 100%. And I think
Totally.
I would recommend that to pretty much anybody. It's hard.
Yeah.
But you learn so much about yourself, and you kind of send yourself a little bit psychotic, but the best of us are.
Yeah. Well, when you don't have distractions and you don't have work, you know, taking up your attention span or other people, then you're literally just sitting with yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need that time. Like I actually do the same thing. I don't go off the grid, but I'll take just solo vacations and just leave. Like after taking the bar exam a few years ago, I just went to Barbados, just left. I was there for like 2.5 weeks by myself, had no plans, just sat there, kind of adventured a little bit. But you need to do that in order to get to know yourself, in order to figure out what your next steps in life need to be. The last trip I took was just up to Fort Collins in Colorado. It was a very last minute solo trip. And I wrote so many poems that I felt like have been in me for a while, but I hadn't had the moment to like sit down and fully feel my feelings. And so all of a sudden I'm in a coffee shop in Fort Collins, like crying, writing this poem about rabbits. And like, I'm like, oh my gosh, where is this? This is coming from somewhere deep inside of me. And I have been pushing it down. And now that I have given myself this container of this trip to process and feel these feelings, I'm able to understand them, and they come up and I'm able to resolve them. And through that trip, I figured out that I needed to leave the relationship that I was in. I was in a very long-term relationship, and I was like, this is not working. This is not working. And I don't think I would have come to that sort of like crystal clear realization if I didn't have that trip. to just sit with myself and feel my feelings and be like, okay, what is wrong? Why does this life feel so wrong? Okay, what do I need to fix it? Um, and I think we as human beings, we do our best, but we get kind of off course sometimes.
Hmm.
And you need that kind of silence and that downtime to be able to realize that you're off course, because otherwise you're just kind of caught up in that cycle of living every day in your routine, and you don't have the time to be like, wait, is this the routine I want? Is this serving me? Am I
Hmm.
getting closer to my life purpose, or am I getting farther away?
Mm.
Those trips are awesome. I hope you have a great one over
Thank you.
Christmas.
Yeah, it's hard to see it once you're in the situation, right? Because you're only going to be seeing it from one perspective. Like you need to be able to
Mm,
take yourself out of that situation, get lost a little bit, find yourself, beat yourself up, and then turn it all around and be like, right, it looks the same, it looks completely different, it looks a little bit different, whatever it is, rather than just sitting in that same situation, doing the same thing. Like you're only ever going to
yeah,
see the same thing.
yeah.
If we sit at a
And
table
you're too
across from each
close to
other,
it.
yeah, exactly, you're too
Yeah,
close. Like stand a little bit further back, see it for what it is rather than what you want it to be.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Solo trips, man, I'm telling you, like that's what I live
Mm,
for.
I know everyone needs to do that. I firmly believe everyone needs to go on at least one solo trip per year.
Yeah.
And then everyone needs to be in therapy at some time in their lives. Like that's what I just want to mandate for everybody in the world. Therapy, solo trips.
Wow.
We'd all be better off.
Wow. How come therapy?
I think that it's kind of a similar principle where it's so easy to just get caught up in the day by day that therapy forces you to take some time out and actually learn about yourself and practice self-care and have somebody who is somebody that you can confide in a safe place, instead of just offloading that onto your mother or your partner or a sibling or something like that. I think we all have things that we need to work out, and therapy gives you that designated time to kind of work on yourself, and get a different perspective, because sometimes you are too close to realize what you're doing wrong or what you need, um, and a therapist can help you with that. And I think we all need that.
Yeah, that's a really important point of giving yourself that time and seeing their perspective on it, right? And it can kind of add in and layer in some little techniques and all that, and you can kind of learn some strategies. Yeah, I would agree. I've never been in therapy, so I can't really comment on that. But I would agree in the sense of people need that time, and I think self-awareness is the greatest thing that we can ever develop. Is like learning and owning your own limitations and working with them rather than letting them work against you. And if you're able to see that yourself, awesome. If not, like, talk to someone.
Yeah. And they can give you a lot of tools that you would have never known about
Mm,
either, that just help you have a more successful life, have a happier life.
mm,
Like I am in therapy right now. I don't do it all the time, but sometimes I'm like, you know what, I could really talk to someone about such and such issue. And my therapist right now was like, Morgan, not everything has to be a poem that you go and you take and you submit out into the world. Like, because she was telling me I need to just kind of write about my feelings and write about my thoughts, and then just like throw it away,
mm.
rip it up, let it be. I don't have to sit and then transform that into this work of art that I publish. Like she's like, it can be its own therapeutic tool to just write. Like you were saying, when it was therapy for you to just write your feelings down and your emotions down, I can have that too. And just because I'm a writer doesn't mean that everything has to be a poem.
Mm.
Like she's like, just chill, Morgan. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I was doing that, but I was absolutely doing that. Where I was making everything into a poem and saying, okay, how can I use this for my art instead of okay, I just want to let this go so I can move forward and be happier.
Yeah, you feel like a little bit of obligation to kind of share everything, right? And you're like, oh no, this is who I am now. Like I'm someone who writes and publishes everything that's going
Right.
wrong. And you're like, oh, I need to save that one and kind of give it to people. You're like, whoa, hold on a minute. Like you don't have to say everything. It's okay.
No, right. Exactly. Exactly. Because, I get so caught up in I'm transparent, I'm authentic, I'm vulnerable. I want to show all of myself to the world in hopes that people connect with that and feel less alone. But it's okay to have things that are just mine. Like I
Mm,
don't have to give all of myself all the time.
mm.
So that's something I could have probably not ever realized on my own because I didn't know I was doing it. I didn't even realize. So,
Do you journal at all?
so I don't, but now I've started to.
Mm,
With that suggestion from my therapist, I've started to kind of journal and not then change all my journal thoughts into a poem.
mm,
But before, I never would journal. I would just sit down and write full length poetry.
mm.
Um, but now I have a little journal that I use. Do you journal?
Yeah, I used to. Well, I didn't for a long time. Like I said, I wasn't a writer or anything. I was just kind of. I would turn. I think being a young fella as well, growing up, like you kind of turn every emotion into aggression, and then you use that aggression, um, which makes you a very one-dimensional human being. To be honest with you, like now, you learn the limitations of that, and you're like, right, that causes a lot of issues. Let's fucking fix that. But yeah, I've gone into like a lot of times where I'll kind of journal things down. And one time when I came here, I had 3 books on the go. Like one was, the whole gratitude thing, where I'd write down 3 things I was grateful for. The other one was like a mind dump. So that would be like a journal, like anything that didn't necessarily have to make sense. I just kind of put my pen on the paper and then just kept going until I wasn't actually writing words anymore. And it was just kind of scribbled lines. And then the third one is the one that I would make poems in. And it really helps, like I'm also one of those people that doesn't keep their stuff. Like I will use all these books to draft and all that. And once the book is then published and it is its own entity, all the drafts and those books that I used, I then burn them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you find that the act of burning them helps you kind of release those feelings? Like it feels so final, like you're actually burning those feelings up. Does it feel symbolic or is it just a practical thing?
Um, Sometimes, and some things, quite a lot of things has been symbolic. Yeah. Um, I'm also, I grew up with not 2 pennies to rub together, right? Very, very working class, blue collar, poor. And I think to myself, I'm like, I don't have a clue how I'm here right now. Like this is crazy. But I'm here because of the just tireless hard work, right? And it's just like it reinstills in my brain that work that I did yesterday does not serve me today. So I have to
Mm.
keep going because ultimately that's how we're gonna keep progressing, or that's how we're gonna keep what we already have. Um, so it's one, yeah, symbolic, but two, it keeps instilling in me of like, right, what's done is done. I can't change that. I'm going to take the lessons that I can from it, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to continue on this growth path.
Keep going. Yeah. How do you balance that drive with rest? Like that's something that I've been asking myself lately too,
Mhm.
because so I've got this writing thing, and then I'm also a lawyer
That's
full
insane.
time, which is an intense job. And I feel like there are times when I just go, 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 go in both directions, both working so hard on my legal work and working so hard on my writing. And then I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired and burnt out. I need to put rest kind of into the equation at some point, but I struggle with that. Have
Mm.
you found kind of the secret with getting rest?
The secret.
It's so hard. Yes, the secret.
Well, first of all, you're nuts for being a lawyer and a writer. That's absolutely crazy. Like, I don't know how you do that. That's mental. Like, that is a lot of work. In terms of like balancing rest, yeah, that's something that I've definitely struggled with for fucking years. Right? Like, there was a time where I was working 4 jobs and I would do 18-hour days. And obviously you don't get much time to do anything in those times. Needs must. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure. I like to do multiple things, so if I don't have any motivation, inspiration, or any energy to plow into one side of the thing, I will just pick up another project and keep going. Right? I've always got something on the go. But only recently I'm like, right, I'm so fucking burnt out or can't be asked or whatever. It's like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm going to take the foot off the gas. I'm just going to let it be, because I think like we try and control everything, right? And get the end result and the outcome that we dictate so much. Like, I'm fucking one human being on a planet of nearly 8 billion. And also human beings mean nothing to the planet. Right. And I'm like, how arrogant must we be to believe that we dictate the outcome of everything? It's like, no. Like, there's a lot of things that aren't in your control. So I kind of live by a saying, which I stole from my mother, of I will do all I can until I'm willing to give no more. And I kind of live by feel, man, in the sense of, do I love what I'm doing? Does it pour back in my cup? Having conversations like we're doing now pours back in my cup. I'm like, I love this. Like, I'll wake up at 2:00 in the morning, we'll do it, no problem, whatever you need. But I'm like, does the day job do that? No. Then I'm probably gonna stop doing that day job and go do something else. Yeah. And I just go by feel. Does it feel right? No. Change it. Yes. Keep going. You're not sure? That's fine. Just coast a little bit. The decision will come to you.
Yeah. That reminds me of kind of the phrase that I've been trying to live by this year, which is follow the joy. Where you follow the joy in your life. If this part of your job or this job isn't giving you joy, then it's probably not meant for you. Then it's probably not your purpose. If this person isn't giving you joy and filling your cup, then they're probably not meant for you. So kind of using that principle to make decisions is how I've been kind of spending the year. So it sounds very similar to your, is it filling my cup kind of inquiry with things that are in your life.
What's your purpose?
My purpose, so it shifts and it changes. And I think it probably will. I will probably have like 30 different purposes in the course of my lifetime. But I believe that my purpose right now is to help people get in touch with their feelings, so that they can move through them and let them go. Because when we kind of suppress our feelings and push them down, they don't go anywhere. They stay, trapped in our body, and they cause sicknesses, and they kind of animate our behavior, whether we like it or not. Like if you've got all this resentment and you're just pushing it down, it stays in your body. And so I'm trying to help people feel those emotions, and I'm trying to let them know that it's okay. The emotion's not going to destroy you. You can feel it, and then once you feel it, you get to the other side of it and you can let it go. So that's my purpose right now, is trying to spread that message and help people feel their emotions through, conversations like this, through poetry, Um, that's what I'm trying to do.
I think you've honestly just answered your previous question of like the balance and the rest. I was like, you've said like right now your purpose is to do all of that. So that's kind of guiding you into one way. It's guiding you away from the more day job into the night job, or whatever the way you want to look at it. And then
Yeah.
that potentially might change, and then it will guide you away from this one and back to the other one, or to a third one, or to something completely different.
Yeah, that's true. Just follow that as like your North Star.
North Star, that hits home to me. Yeah, the North is always best.
Mhm.
Oh, it's been a while since I've been North. I've moved a lot in the past like 5 years, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of planned out. Like every time I've moved, I've gone further and further south.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Do you think that's subconscious?
Probably. That's again why it says, another thing in the back of my head tells me, if I leave here, would I go home? And I'm like, well, every time you've left, you've gone further away from home. So that must mean no.
Not. Yeah. Probably not.
Weird.
But it sounds like you miss the snow. Like you miss the cold weather, having
yeah.
true seasons.
Yes. It needs to be cold. I need to be able to like see my breath. I need to like shovel snow out the front. Yes. It needs to be socially acceptable to have rum in your coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning because it's so cold. You know what I mean? Like here, you're just gonna start sweating regardless. So it's like, no, there's no point. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Coffees,
yes. That's great.
I do miss a northern.
Yeah. Well,
Christmas.
that's also balance too.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
exactly.
ahead. Yeah. Balance, rum in your cup. For me, it's wine in the evenings with Netflix after I'm done lawyering for the day and writing for the day. Just getting some chill time.
Do you do wine and cheese?
I don't usually do wine and cheese, but I don't know why I don't do it. I love it. I love it.
I've been invited. Well, this was fucking years ago, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years. No, more than. Oh my God, probably like 5 years ago. I was invited to like a massive wine and cheese night. I'm not a wine guy. Like I get headaches if I drink wine. I don't know why. It just doesn't really sit with me. But I'm literally just there for the cheese, not the conversation, just the cheese.
That's the cheese.
I'm like, get that cheese board out, mate. Yep, it's a good time.
Gosh. Yeah, I love that. Well, I'm from the Midwest, which is like the cheese capital of the United States. Tons of dairy in the Midwest. So cheese and beer is kind of what we're known for. So I'm a cheese girl. I'm a cheese head.
What's your favorite cheese?
Goat cheese. I love goat cheese. I also love brie. Like I just can't get enough of brie.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever baked it?
Yes. I only ever bake it. Yes. Or you could put some jam on top of it too. Like put some brie in the oven with some blackberry jam and then cut up some bread and then toast the bread just a little bit. Man. So good.
Put a little bit of what did we used to put on it? Raspberry jam.
Oh.
Or like cranberry sauce.
That would be good. That would be good. I just thought of honey. What if you drizzled some honey on top of it?
No,
I haven't done that, but now I'm gonna have to.
Like the best starter I've ever had in my life. I was in a Mediterranean restaurant. There was like phyllo pastry around a block of feta cheese, right? It had some honey and sesame seeds on it. Oh my days.
Sounds so good.
I was like, just bring more of that. Just hold the main course. Don't even bother bringing me the chicken, right? Just bring me more of that. It was divine. Yeah, I probably got a problem.
It. Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, in France, they do cheese as dessert.
Yes, they do.
That's where we need to go. Go to France. You can get all the cheese that you could ever want.
I mean, dessert. I'm English, so I have to be kind of a little bit against the French. We love to hate each other. But I have to admit, their cheese is phenomenal. The wine's good. I drink French wine. Whatever.
Okay.
It'll give me a headache, but I'll drink French wine. No problem.
It's worth it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's worth it.
it's a cool, like, it's a really, really cool place. Have you ever been?
I've been once to the south of France, to Nice.
Oh, Nice.
And I'm sorry?
You said Nice, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Right.
I went when I was 15 or 16, so it was a long time ago, and I really want to go back. I really want to try Paris and see what that's all about. So have
Paris
you been
is a
to
cool
Paris?
city. Yeah,
Okay.
I've been there a few times. Like, it's literally like a stone's throw from England, right? So it's kind of a rite of passage for us. Yeah, it's a really cool city. I've been there southwest, like Bordeaux, Marseille. They're really cool cities again. Like, it's the lifestyle for me in France. That is awesome. I keep saying, like, the next time I go back, I have to learn French. I have to be able to speak it. You know, I don't really want to be that stereotypical English guy that will go over to a non-English speaking country and then speak English to them. I'm like, no, that's not fair. Like, I've got to learn some French.
Yeah, it's not that hard to learn because it's a Romance language. I took French in high school, and now do I remember a lot of it? No, it was a while ago. But I know how to say a few things. So you can do it.
As long as you can order like a wine and cheese board, you're all right. It's fine.
Yeah, or say like, please, thank you, hello, kind of the basics. It seemed like when I was in Nice, they appreciated at least trying, like starting the conversation, trying in French, and then once I would inevitably fail miserably, they would switch to English. Be like, okay, miss. But they appreciated the effort.
Yeah, I mean, it's respectful, right? Like, you're there,
Right.
You're in their home, and you're expecting them to speak your language. Like, it's a really strange concept. There's loads of languages I want to learn. I'm fascinated by languages. Like, people that can switch between like different languages, I think it's one of the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Do you know any other languages?
No, like, I learned German for a long time, and I could get by reading it. Like, long story. I was meant to go to Eastern Europe. It was a bit of a crazy flight cancelled and all that nonsense. We ended up in Austria, which obviously is not Eastern Europe, it's Central Europe. And then we had to kind of bus to Slovakia, which is a neighboring country, so that's fine. But I had to get by literally just reading the signs, and I was fine, and I'd not learned German in probably like 5 years, 6 years from that point. So I was all right, but nah, not anymore. Like, I know a little bit of like New Zealand Sign Language, so I can kind of get by like communicating with people that are hearing impaired and deaf. But other than that, barely English. Like, honestly, like, I've been to a lot of places, right? And no one has a clue what I'm saying. Like, guys, come on. Like, we're speaking the same language here.
Yeah, I don't think I can understand your accent.
Perfect.
But there we go.
I need like subtitles for a lot of this.
Subtitles.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get in contact with like the CEO of Zoom and be like, hey, can you like add in subtitles, because people have no idea what I'm saying.
Just for me. Just add that to my software. Just for me.
That's actually a gap in the market.
There we go. Yeah. Well, if you are hearing impaired and using Zoom, subtitles would help a lot.
Or you could sign.
You could, if you knew sign language. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you know sign language?
I don't. I think as kids, they try to teach you a little bit here in the States.
That's good.
In school, but that was so long ago. I kind of forgot, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think
It
it
went
should.
in the same place as my French. It just went out the other side of my head.
Yeah, like that's the problem though, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, we'll teach you in school, and then they try and teach you like 4 languages at one time, 2 languages, and then sign language. You're like, hold on a minute, I've only got enough mental capacity for one language, and then you go into English and like, right now we're going to teach you grammar and stuff. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I have no idea. I'm not the most academic of people. When can we go play football?
When's gym? That's what
Yeah,
I want to know.
yeah. When can we play dodgeball or something? When can I throw a ball at one of my friends?
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That's right.
I was the opposite. I was horrible at gym. Oh my goodness. Not a big dodgeball lover, but oh well.
Dodgeball was the best. It was just more funny than anything else. Like no one had
Yeah.
any clue what the rules were. It was just a bunch of northern lads in a really old gymnasium with like these shitty ass balls, and it's like, right, who's gonna get smacked? That was yeah. Things
Sounds like
happen weird up
chaos.
there. I got 3 questions that I like asking everyone, right? Because I am absolutely obsessed with people's answers. All right. So the first one, what's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay.
I know,
That
again,
is
I'm
a
putting you
very
on the
deep.
spot. Sorry.
Um, I received a piece of life advice from, speaking of therapy, from one of my former therapists about listening to your body. Her advice was listen to your body. It will tell you everything that you need to know to take care of yourself. It will let you know when you need rest. It will let you know when you need quiet time, downtime. It will let you know when you need movement. It will let you know when you need just space to be sad for a little bit. It'll let you know, when you need to go out and party with your friends. Like a lot of us, we just get so in our heads and we're kind of thinking a million miles per minute that we forget to get down in our body and see how we're feeling. And that's just the best way you can care for yourself, is to listen to what your body has to say.
Mm.
And that was powerful for me because speaking of hard work and being really driven, I just go, go, go. And I don't necessarily always take the time to listen to my body and see what it's trying to tell me. So that advice was new for me at the time, and something that I always try to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think that connection with yourself and your body like is paramount, right? Like it tells you everything you need to know. We just kind of numb ourselves usually, whether it's bottling up feelings, whether it's ignoring signs, whether it's no, I'm good, whether it's medicating yourself, whatever it is, right? It's like, well, those, pain is just a signal. It's trying to tell you something. Same with discomfort, same with fear, same with whatever it is, anxiety, depression. It's like it's telling you something. Figure it out.
Yeah,
Be one with it.
Exactly.
And again, I think you just answered your question. Like, what's the secret formula? Well, you just said the secret formula.
Listen to your body. Yeah.
That's really, really important. Kind of sparked a light bulb in my mind. What about the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh boy. So growing up in the Midwest, it's a very traditional kind of culture and environment. And a piece of life advice that I received growing up over and over and over again was marry a nice, dependable man, and he will give you the life that you want. Like it's all about women in the Midwest, at least this is the message I received, that it's all about being as, attractive as possible so you can attract a man with a nice job and he will give you a nice life. that was the emphasis, like that was the goal. And if you married well, then you succeeded. And that, I think, is horrible life advice and a horrible message to be giving women, because it teaches you that you are only half of a whole. And it also teaches you that you have to depend on somebody else to achieve your dreams. And you have to depend on somebody else to take care of you. And it also teaches you that your value is in the way you look and how attractive you are and how well you can take care of a man. And I find that no matter what your gender is, you have the autonomy and the talent and the drive to go achieve your own dreams. You don't need somebody to give you a nice life. You can create your own nice life. And you don't need somebody to take care of you, because you can take care of yourself. And your value is in the way you make others feel. Your value is in having people walk into a room with you and have the people feel seen and valued and cherished and like they are important, and not about what you look like, whether you're the skinniest, the prettiest, the blondest, whatever. That doesn't matter. And I think I bought into that advice, that bad advice, for the beginning of my 20s, and then just decided it was a bunch of rubbish and decided to go to law school and take care of myself and give myself the life that I always wanted. And Lady Gaga has a quote, and I hope I'm reciting it right, but she says, "Your career will never wake up one morning and tell you it doesn't love you anymore." And so if you have your own career and your own life and your own ambition, that's something nobody can ever take away from you. That's something that, if your spouse, God forbid, leaves you, it's never going to leave with it. That's something you're going to have forever. So I'm a firm believer in we are whole as women, and it's great to have a partner, but it's definitely not necessary, and it has nothing to do with your value. So
I 100% agree. And I go back to like Greek mythology, right? Of we are one spirit split in two, right? And that's the whole thing of soulmates, is what they used to think. And I'm like, okay, well, that's nice as a fairy tale and Disney. But I like to think of it as we are all whole, exactly the same as you said. And then two whole things can then come together and inevitably, drift apart. And that's okay. That's life. That's whatever it is. That's part of the journey. But rather than like being completely dependent on someone else to like make you whole, I think that's the most idiotic notion on the planet. You are being a completely dependent person. Like if you take that one leg away from the stool is going to hit the ground. You are one leg away from hitting rock bottom. That's not a good place to be in, because you are in a sense of desperation, and desperation usually causes you to do some weird and wacky shit. It's like, let's work on yourself. Like, again, self-awareness, limitation, acknowledge it, work on it, work on the strength, fine. All right. But you are everything that you already need. Like, I do believe that everything that you could ever need is already within you. Like your experiences and the people you meet along the way just help pull it out of you. And I think if more people believed that, they would have a hell of a lot more confidence in their own ability. And when people, which is inevitable in life, will give you the backhand, will leave, will cuss you out, or whatever happens, right? Just you get dealt a shit hand, and unfortunately you're going to have to fold this hand of, that's fine, because back against the wall, gun against my head, I'm going to be all right. And I think everyone will be. And I just hope they can, I wrote something down like fucking ages ago of just like, I wish people could see themselves through my eyes. Right? Because I think everyone has everything already. It's like they've probably just not been granted the gift of rock bottom yet to be able to figure that out.
Yeah. Wow. That's right. It is a gift. rock bottom is a gift.
And some people get dished that
realize...
gift a lot more than others.
Yeah,
Okay. Fortunately, it's not just once, and you're gonna learn everything. Like, good luck.
Nope, keeps happening, but every time it happens, you know that you can get yourself out of it because you have before.
100%. You learn the way out, and you just
Yeah.
pick up the lessons along the way. Last question.
Absolutely. Okay.
3 words you tell your younger self.
3 words. Oh my gosh. Okay. The 3 words I would tell my younger self is, it gets better. I think I needed to hear that growing up. I think I grew up, I kind of struggled as a kid, just very emotional and not really sure what to do with those emotions. I never felt like I really fit in at school. I was teased a little bit. Was not popular at all in school, and felt like I was an alien, compared to everybody else. And I would just love to tell myself that, like, it gets better. You find a place where you belong. You find people that love you. You are able to have a beautiful life, and you just can't see it yet. I would have loved to have a time machine and tell myself that back then. That's such a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, it gets better.
Well, without those experiences, you wouldn't be in the same situation as you are now. So
True.
yeah, like, looking back kind of fills you with maybe a little bit of sorrow, but at the same time, that's a beautiful thing, because look where you are now. Look at the mind and the full heart that you develop now. Like, that's because of that.
Absolutely. I would not be the same person without those experiences. Totally. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Developed a lot of tenacity.
Yeah.
But
100%. Like, you are shown. That's, again, I'm dyslexic as shit. I don't know how I've able to publish a book, but it is what it is. You're shown that no matter what, everything else gets stripped away, you're going to be fine.
Yeah,
you're going to be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can stand on your own.
You're whole.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You're whole.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This was a wonderful conversation.
If you ever find yourself not knowing what to do and not knowing what train to get on, make sure you get on the one to New Zealand, and we can grab a coffee and do it all over again.
Perfect. Yes, if you're ever in the US, if you're ever in Colorado, hit me up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm looking about coming to the US next year.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's just going to be like a dot around, whether it's going to be just uproot myself and, wipe the slate clean and go again. Who knows? But I'm definitely looking at going to the States next year. There's a lot of people that I need to go see in person and shake their hand, give them a hug, share a coffee, throw a bar, have a laugh,
Yeah. Have some rum, have some coffee and rum.
Yeah. Feel the northern hemisphere cold rather than whatever they call the cold here, which is like 14 degrees and I'm sweating.
Yeah, well, we've got plenty of cold up here, plenty of snow.
Perfect. I'm there. All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It was great to meet you.
You have a fantastic day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. You as well.
See you later.